Thanksgiving Day. I found my grandson trembling on the porch in the freezing cold, dressed in summer clothes. Through the window, I saw the family eating turkey. I pushed the door open and said 6 words. Their smiles vanished. It was Thanksgiving, and I was driving down I-75 south towards Cincinnati in my beat-up Chevy truck, the one that's been with me longer than most people in my life. Snow was falling hard, big fat flakes sticking to the windshield, making the wipers work overtime. The radio was playing Led Zeppelin, Martha's favorite, and it matched the heavy feeling in my chest. See, I'd been worrying about my daughter Leona and her son Amos ever since Martha passed 6 months earlier. Martha had this way of sensing when something was off, and without her, I was starting to see things I'd missed before. In the passenger seat were 2 gift bags. One with a leather baseball glove for Amos cost me more than I'd like to admit, and another with comic books. The superhero kind he loved as a kid. At 18, he might have thought he was too old for them, but I wasn't so sure. You're never too old for heroes, right? I was headed to Leona's house unannounced, hoping to surprise them, maybe bring a little of Martha's holiday magic back to our family. Family's all we've got, she used to say, and after losing her, every moment together felt like it could slip away if I didn't hold on tight. The roads were a mess, cars crawling along with hazard lights blinking like fireflies in the storm. I tried calling Leona to let her know I was coming, but the phone rang 6 times before hitting voicemail. Weird, I thought. Thanksgiving afternoon, someone's always home, right? I stopped at a gas station to fill up and grab coffee, the clerk warning me about accidents piling up. Be careful out there, he said, and I nodded, feeling that knot in my gut tighten. By the time I hit Leona's neighborhood in Cincinnati, it was pushing 3:15 p.m. The streets were lined with cozy 2-story houses, pumpkins and wreaths on every porch, some already twinkling with early Christmas lights. It looked like a postcard, all warm and inviting. I pulled into Leona's driveway behind her husband Wilbur's pickup and saw smoke curling from the chimney. Holiday music drifted faintly from inside, and I could almost picture Amos helping his mom in the kitchen or watching football with his stepdad. I was ready for a hug from my grandson, maybe some of that healing Martha always believed in. Then I saw him. Amos was sitting on the front steps, hunched over, arms wrapped around his knees. No coat, no hat, just a thin t-shirt and shorts in 15-degree weather. Snow dusted his shoulders, and he was shivering so hard it looked like his bones were rattling. My heart stopped. Jesus Christ, I muttered, throwing open the truck door. The wind hit me like a slap, ice crystals stinging my face as I ran across the slippery driveway. Amos, I called, my voice breaking. What the hell are you doing out here? He looked up, and the relief in his eyes damn near broke me. His lips were blue, his face gray with red patches where the cold had bitten deepest. Grandpa, he whispered, teeth chattering so bad he could barely speak. I ripped off my coat and wrapped it around him, feeling how ice cold he was through the fabric. How long you been out here, son? I'm not allowed. He pulled the coat tighter, shaking like a leaf. I'm not allowed to go in the house. Those words hit me like a freight train. Through the windows I could see the warm glow of their dining room, hear laughter and the clink of dishes. They were inside, feasting, while my grandson was freezing out here like some kind of punishment. What do you mean, not allowed? My voice came out sharp, anger boiling in my chest. This is your home. He flinched, and I softened my tone quick. The last thing he needed was me yelling. Please, Grandpa, he whispered, glancing at the door. If Wilbur hears you. Wilbur, Leona's husband, the man who'd been in Amos's life for 3 years, ever since they married. I'd never liked him too controlling, too quick with that smug smile, but I'd let Leona brush it off. He's just strict, Dad, she'd say. But this was something else. How long, Amos? I kept my voice gentle but firm. How long you been out here? Since this morning. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I checked my watch, 3:20 p.m. That meant over 4 hours in weather cold enough to give him frostbite. I tried the front door. Locked. Of course it was. They'd locked him out on Thanksgiving Day and left him to freeze while they played Happy Family inside. We're getting you warm, I said, guiding him to the truck. I cranked the heat to max and wrapped a blanket from my emergency kit around him. His hands were so numb he couldn't grip anything, so I held them, rubbing warmth back into his fingers. Tell me what happened, son. From the start. He stared at his hands, voice small. I was helping Mom with the turkey. She asked me to check it while she showered. I forgot to turn off the oven timer when I basted it. The turkey got a little burnt on top. Not ruined, just darker. Wilbur saw it and lost it. Lost it how? Yelling, said I ruined the holiday that guests would think Mom couldn't cook. Called me an embarrassment. Then he said I needed to think about my actions and couldn't come inside until I learned responsibility. And your mom? He looked away. She tried to say something, but Wilbur told her to stay out of it. Said it was between him and me. She didn't say anything after that. 4.5 hours over a slightly burnt turkey. I had to take deep breaths to keep from exploding. Has this happened before? He hesitated, like he was weighing whether the truth would make things worse. Sometimes, he whispered. Last month, he made me stand in the garage all night for forgetting the trash. Once, he locked me in the basement for 2 days over a broken beer bottle. Each word was a punch to my gut. I thought back to last summer, fishing at Lake Erie. Amos had caught his first bass, grinning like he'd won the lottery. But I'd noticed a bruise on his arm. Too precise, like fingers. He'd said he fell off his bike, but I should have pushed harder. Martha would have known what to do. Your mom knows about this? She says Wilbur's teaching me discipline, that I need to be responsible. Maybe she's right, maybe I don't. I turned to face him. Don't you dare blame yourself. This isn't discipline, it's abuse, and it stops today. His eyes went wide with panic. No, Grandpa, if you make a scene, he'll take it out on me later. He always does. I looked at the house warm lights, holiday music, laughter, and felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Martha was the diplomat, the one who smoothed things over. But she wasn't here, and I wasn't leaving my grandson to suffer another minute. Let's get your things, I said, stepping out into the snow. Amos followed, reluctant, my coat still around his shoulders. I didn't knock. My boot hit the door hard, right by the lock. At 68, I'm not as young as I used to be, but years of factory work gave me strength. The wood splintered, and the door slammed open, warm air rushing out. I stepped inside, Amos behind me, and froze. The dining room was like a magazine spread. White tablecloth, flickering candles, crystal glasses. Wilbur sat at the head, carving knife in hand, wearing a pressed shirt. Leona was beside him in a green dress, hair perfect. Their younger daughter, maybe 10, sat across from them, fork halfway to her mouth. They were all frozen, staring at us like we'd crashed their perfect holiday movie. Have you lost your damn minds? My voice boomed, and the little girl dropped her fork. Leona's face went pale, gravy splattering as her spoon hit the table. Dad? She squeaked. What are you while you're feasting like royalty? Your son's freezing outside? I pointed at Amos, shivering in my coat. 4 hours, Leona, in weather that could have killed him. Wilbur set down his knife and stood, bigger than I remembered, probably outweighing me by 50 pounds. Who gave you permission to enter my house? He said, voice low and dangerous. This is private property. Private property? I stepped toward him. Where you locked my grandson outside to freeze while you ate dinner? The little girl started crying, and Leona reached to comfort her, but her eyes stayed on me, torn. This is a private family matter, Wilbur said, his voice rising. You have no business? No business? I could feel my face heating up. That's my grandson you nearly killed. Amos pressed closer, trembling. I pointed at him. Look at him, Wilbur. Look at what you've done. Wilbur crossed his arms, chin up. The boy ruined our holiday. He needed to learn responsibility. A lesson? You nearly froze him to death over a burnt turkey. He's 18, not a child, Wilbur snapped. My house, my rules. I'm teaching him discipline. Your daughter failed to instill. Leona flinched but stayed silent. I stepped closer, close enough to see the wine stain on his lips. That's called child abuse, and you're lucky I don't call the police. Child abuse? He laughed, cold and cruel. He forgot a timer and ruined a $20 turkey. I sent him outside to think. That's parenting. 4 hours in 5-degree weather, I shot back. He's fine, you say? Look at him. Dad, please, Leona finally said, voice shaky. Don't ruin our holiday. Ruin your holiday? I stared at my daughter, disbelief choking me. Your son was freezing while you ate, and you're worried about your holiday? It's different, she whispered. How? I demanded. When you dented my truck at 18, did I lock you out in a blizzard? Wilbur stepped between us. Because this is my house and Amos isn't my son, I have every right to discipline him as I see fit. There it was. Amos wasn't his blood, so he didn't matter. You have 30 seconds to apologize to my grandson, I said, voice deadly calm. Wilbur laughed again. I don't owe that boy anything. If he doesn't like my rules, he can find somewhere else to live. Somewhere else to live, I repeated, pulling out my phone. Either you apologize or I call Child Protective Services. You wouldn't dare, he sneered, stepping closer. Try me. I started dialing. Amos gripped my arm, terrified, but I kept going. I've got plenty to say about leaving an 18-year-old in freezing weather. Dad, don't, Leona stepped between us, hands raised. You'll destroy our family. I'm not destroying anything. He did that when he abused my grandson. Wilbur's mask slipped. Get out of my house, old man. Amos is my responsibility. Is this how you handle responsibility? I gestured at Amos's blue lips. Locking kids outside to freeze? He's not a kid, Wilbur said. Adults face consequences, adult consequences, for a timer. I was friend, I turned to Amos. Go get your things. You're coming home with me. You can't just take him, Leona said, voice breaking. Watch me. I guided Amos to the stairs. Go pack, son. Wilbur followed, shouting about kidnapping, but I didn't care. Amos's room was a tiny, cold space, barely a bedroom. He packed quickly, and we headed out, his mother's pleas echoing behind us. If you love me, Mom, you wouldn't have let this happen, he said, and we left, the broken door letting cold air into their perfect holiday scene. Back at my house, the warmth of the place wrapped around us like a hug. Amos settled into the guest room, Martha's quilt on the bed, family photos on the walls. We cooked dinner together, and slowly he started to relax, telling me about school, his friends, his dreams of studying engineering. But the peace didn't last. 3 sharp knocks on my door that night made Amos freeze. Through the peephole, I saw 2 police officers, Wilbur and Leona, behind them. Mr. Burke, the lead officer said, we need to speak with you. Wilbur pointed, red-faced. He kidnapped my stepson. Is Amos here voluntarily? The second officer asked. Amos stepped forward, voice steady. I want to stay with my grandpa. The officers came inside and the truth came spilling out. Amos told them about the 4 hours in the cold, the garage, the basement. Leona, shaking, finally admitted it was true. You locked the door, she said to Wilbur. You told me not to let him in. Wilbur was arrested for child endangerment, his threats fading as they led him away. Leona collapsed, sobbing, but Amos knelt beside her. It's okay, Mom. It's over. 4 months later, things are different. Amos is thriving, accepted to Ohio State's engineering program with a full scholarship. Leona's living with me, working at the library, free from Wilbur's control. We're a family again, planting seeds in Martha's garden, laughing over pancakes, planning for Amos's future. He's even playing guitar in a talent show with his friend Jake.